Church Pop is on vacation, so Church Uncle is here. Yes. Yep. So obviously I'm not Jason. Jason and Crystal are on vacation, getting a much needed break. We all need a break. I could use a vacation myself, not gonna lie. I have one coming up. It's called honeymoon, getting married. In case you didn't know, I like telling people. To her over there. Speaking of it, can I borrow your phone? Okay. Also, can you watch my recording, make sure it works well? Oh, also, is that open? Yes, mine's over there. You can take it off. Having a fiance is nice. Don't rush it. But it is good. How old was I? I was 25. I'm 26 now, but I was 25 when I started dating. I had never dated anybody before in my life. So, struggle is real, but patience is good, she's amazing. And I don't have all that baggage from the tons and tons of girlfriends over the years. It's just the natural baggage of life. That's enough, let me tell you. Yep, oh thanks, I was liked. Right. I get sidetracked because I will go forever. All right, so we are starting a new series today. It is called Stretch. Who here likes to stretch? None of you, okay. Well, thank you, Josh, thank you. I think my game might be a little high. Can you dial me back by one? Thanks. I feel like I'm about to start ringing at any moment. Anyway, this is kind of fun as Jason asked me to step in and take over and start this new series for him. And I actually just started stretching like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, something like that. Because, I'm getting old, guys. I'm 26 now. I'm not that old, but, you start to age a little bit and your body's like, I'm feeling a little tight, bro. This isn't good. So I was like, I gotta do something. So I started stretching. And it's been going great. I feel a lot better. But it was kind of amusing because now I'm doing a series called Stretch, so the Lord had joined me on him. So in this series, we're going to be talking about stretching. And stretching, I'm now an expert because I've been doing it for 2 weeks. Come to me if you need help. But no, stretching is about strengthening. The whole idea of stretching your body is that you get all tight, you get all messed up. Even if you work out and you don't stretch, your muscles will still be tight. They're technically getting stronger, but they're also not getting stronger because they're just tightening and you can't do as much. So you want to stretch to keep yourself able to do things. Stretching in regards to other things is, it kind of carries this idea of growing in areas. If you want to stretch in your ability to know something, you either read a book, not to me, I don't like reading. You either read a book or you watch a video, that's me, watch a YouTube. You learn about it and you stretch in your ability to do it by seeking after knowledge. So it's about growing, it's about learning, it's about stretching, it's about getting stronger in something, it's about learning about something. And so we're going to be talking about stretching your faith, because we want to learn about faith. And some water, a lot of water. It's also healthy. Giving you tips, guys. You know how to live. Anyway, I'm talking smack. All right, so we're talking about stretching your faith. So this week, we're talking about making a commitment. So that's how you stretch, is by making commitments to things. And then we're going to be talking about starting something new, going into new stuff, new areas. We're going to be talking about letting something go, because you can only make room for something new by letting something go. Real important. And then we're going to be talking about what to do when you fail. As of right now, I'm only doing this message. Jason will do the rest. So that'll be good. We want to come back for that. Because, that's my guy. Oh, if I count. He's going to be my dad soon. In-law. Dad-in-law. So, got all of we were friends before I started dating Cheyenne. But anyway, so I'm going to be talking about making commitments. You got to make commitments to build faith, to stretch. You make a commitment to learn, make a commitment to do something. It's all about developing yourself, and that is done through committing to something and then following it through, doing it over and over again. I want to become more flexible and feel more alive and healthy, so I stretch every night before I go to bed. I would love to be working out and getting up early in the morning and being a productive human, but I'm not quite there yet, just to be honest. So we're stretching at night, and that's going to get me there, because you build. You make a commitment, you make a little commitment, and then you make another one, and you make another one, and they build and they grow. My boy Tyler, he's coming. Anyway, that's all steroid. All right, so we're going to talk about making commitments. Before I get into what commitments you should be making and the ways to stretch your faith, the commitments that are going to feed your faith and help you grow, I want to help you kind of understand faith a little bit. I know we kind of come here and we talk about these churchy words and these churchy things, and you may have never learned about those things. You're not just born knowing what faith is or what that means, and I don't want to just assume that you know. So we're going to do a little foundation here. We're going to build on it. And so faith, in what I believe is the most simple definition, is a combination of trust and obedience. Faith is two parts. Faith is trust and obedience. You trust to the point of action, and you obey. So in the Bible, it talks about, people all throughout the Bible who had faith, had great faith, like Abraham. Abraham is known as the father of faith, as the man of great faith. And what Abraham did to get that title, one of the things, is Abraham's living his best life, having a good old time doing his thing, and God comes along and says, hey, I want you to leave all of your people, everything you know, and I want you to go that way, and I'll tell you where you're going eventually. Go. And so Abraham had to trust that God was good and that God was trustworthy in order for him to be able to obey. So he trusts God enough to act. So that's kind of the picture of faith. And they feed each other. You can't have faith without obedience, but you also can't have faith without trust. If you don't trust, you're not going to obey. If you don't obey, you don't build trust. So they feed each other. We begin by accepting Jesus and the sacrifice he gave for us, and we say, I trust you enough with my life to receive you as my Savior. And from that act of trust, we obey him, saying, I am the only way, truth, and the life. And then as we do that, we get to know him better, and it builds more trust, because we obey him, and we try to obey on a deeper level. That is faith. I love your faces. All right, so how do we feel about faith? Does that make sense? Is that clear? You understand that? Loving the feedback. Y'all are great.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Kira. Y'all can interact a little bit,
Woo!
This ain't Sunday morning nap time. You know what I'm saying? Huh? Anyway, so that's the understanding of faith. So the next question, before we get into what commitments you want to be making, is, I told you what faith is, that we're trying to build faith, we want to trust God, we want to do what he tells us to do. And so the question then becomes, why? Why in the world should I trust God enough to obey it? Why should I want faith? Why should I want to build my faith? Why should I believe that that's the best answer to life? Why should I do that? Because it doesn't do you a lot of good if I teach you how to make commitments and what commitments to make to build faith if you don't actually want to build faith. Because then you just leave and you're like, thanks, Micah, that was cool. I know how, but I don't really care. So I'm not going to do it. And that does no good. That means I wasted my time. And you wasted your time. I'm not going to waste your time. So, why does faith matter? Why should I want to trust God? Why should I want to live life the way that he asked me to or told me to? Because that's the whole point, is living the way that God has told us to. So why should we? That's something to answer. Thank you. See, just paying attention. All right. And the problem is that there's a cost to faith. We get into it and we're like, yay, faith. We get saved and we're like, yay, Jesus. Jesus is awesome. I feel way better about life now. This is great. Exactly, Josh. Yay, Jesus. And then we get into it and we realize that There's a price to this.
Yes.
You know, like when we choose Jesus, there's a cost.
Yes.
Jesus gave his life for us, and he asked us to do the same. Jesus died physically. We die to ourselves. We die to our own desires, our own plans, our own ways, our own nature. He died, and we died. That's the cost of following Jesus. So why in the world would I want to do that? Would I want to die like Jesus did? Well, the answer is, is in Matthew 6, 25 through 33. Thank you. Love this text. Give it up for Quentin. This is Quentin's first day on the computer. All right. That is why I tell you not to worry about everyday life. Whether you have enough food and drink or enough clothes to wear, isn't life more than food and your body more than clothing? Look at the birds. They don't plant or harvest or store food in barns, for your heavenly Father feeds them, and aren't you far more valuable to him than they are? You are, I promise. Next. I think we went a little far. Good. I feel like we skipped a few verses. We'll pick up here, that's okay. Go back to 30. This is fun, we'll start here. Can all your worries add a single moment to your life? And why worry about your clothing? Look at the lilies of the field and how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing, yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautifully as they are. And if God cares so wonderfully for the wildflowers that are here today and thrown into the fire tomorrow, he will certainly care for you. Why do you have so little faith? So don't worry about these things, saying, what will I eat, or what will we drink, or what will we wear? These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers, but your heavenly Father already knows all your needs. Seek first the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. So why do we want to trust him? The answer is that life is hard. No matter what you do, no matter how you cut it, whether you're living for Jesus or not living for Jesus, life is hard. Jesus said himself that in life you're going to have trials, tribulations, struggles, difficulties. Life is difficult because sin is in the world. Without preaching the whole Bible to you, which I tend to do, sin is in the world because humanity decided to go against God, and so we became part of sin. And so death and brokenness and all the struggles that we face exist because we chose to not live for God. He gave us everything, and we said, I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. And then we died spiritually. And so Jesus came, and he died for us so that we can have life. But we still exist in this world. The world is broken because we chose it to be this way, and so we have struggles. Life is hard. Things are difficult, whether you're a believer or an unbeliever. So the reason that we want faith, the reason why this should matter to us, is because of that right there. In the middle of the struggle, God says, don't worry about the things that you need. Don't worry about the food that you're going to eat. Don't worry about the roof over your head. Don't worry about the car. Don't worry about the friends. Don't worry about the significant other. Don't worry about any of those things, because I know you need them. I know they're important to you. I know you got to have money to live. I know you got to have food to live. I know you need somewhere to live, and I care about that. And if you will do things my way, it opens the door for me to bless you. Because the whole point of Jesus dying and then us dying is Jesus says, I died to give you my life and everything that I am. And we say, I died to give you my life and everything that I am. And all of a sudden, our life becomes God's responsibility. And isn't that nice? Yes. Our life becomes God's responsibility, and his life becomes ours. So we are an expression of him to the earth. We bring love and hope and life to everyone that we meet. And as we do that and give our life to him, he takes care of it. Doesn't always take care of it the same way. It may not always make sense. I've had people give me money for a car. I had a group of people come together, and they gave me like $2,000 so I could get a car because I needed a car. But before that, I had to borrow a friend's car for a year and a half. And that was how God provided for him. It may be different, but he always provides. Always. When you do things his way. That's the point of growing in faith. My mouth is dry. So, we know that faith is about trust and obedience. We trust God enough to obey him. We trust him because he cares about us. He gave his life for us. He wants life for us. He wants to give us everything. And we know that that happens through obedience. So how do we build faith? What are the commitments that we make to be able to build faith, to be able to build that trust and obedience? Well, we're going to look at the life of Jesus because, he's a pretty good example of how to do things. Our man Jesus. All right, so let's look at Romans 12, 1 through 2. Nice. And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind you will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Verse 2. Yeah. How y'all doing?
That's right. Be patient.
Good day.
Your face.
Hey, here we go. Oh, that's 1, 2, 12. 2. That's okay. You got the 12, not the 2. Y'all are doing great, thank you. I love those guys. Hey, first try. All right. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. So we grow our faith by changing the way that we think, by doing things that shift our perspective, that shift our understanding of the world, because we need to learn to think like Jesus thought. We need to learn to see the world the way that Jesus saw the world, because that's going to build trust in us to obey. If we see life the way Jesus did, then we will obey the way that Jesus did. So, how did Jesus see life? I like that slide, guys. So how does Jesus see life? Let's start with Luke 4:16. When he came to the village of Nazareth, his boyhood home, he went, as usual, to the synagogue on the Sabbath and stood up to read the scriptures. So we see two things here that Jesus did. There were commitments that he made. It says that it was normal for Jesus to go to the synagogue, which is their church. So commitment number 1, if you're taking notes, you get extra points in heaven if you take notes. Just kidding. Taking mental notes. I take notes on my phone, so you do that, But no, notes are good because they help you to remember things. Anyway, point number 1, commitment number 1, go to church. Y'all can put a check next to that one because you're doing great, you're here. So commitment number 1 is he went to church. It was normal for Jesus to go to church. Why is it that going to church is a commitment that helps us to grow our faith, that helps us to grow our trust and obedience? It's because we get to come and listen to Micah, and Micah grows our faith. Just kidding. Yeah, church home. No, you go to church because you're surrounded by amazing people that want the same thing you want, for the most part. Some are here just because they're here, and that's okay. We love you too. But you're here, most of you are here because you want to know God better. You've had some experience in your life where Jesus became at least somewhat real to you, and you said, this is what I want. I may not know how to do it necessarily, I may not know everything, I don't know all of it, I don't know all that it means, I don't know all that it costs, I don't know all that it takes, but I want more of this. I want more of him. So you're here to learn. And you're surrounded by other people that want to learn, and that encourages you in the right direction, because the people you surround yourself with will dictate a large majority of the way that your life goes. because it's all about influences. If all I ever hear or see is that drugs are good, then you know what I'm gonna do? Drugs. And I did. Drugs, a lot of them. But if all you ever hear and see, if you're surrounded by fellow believers, if you're surrounded by Jesus people, and you hear, I want to know Jesus more, I want to chase after him. Did you hear this thing that I learned in a message the other day? I was reading my Bible the other day, and this cool thing jumped out at me, that encourages you to know God better. And knowing God is what gets you trust of him, because we learn about who God is, and we learn that he wants to take care of us. We learn that he loves us more than we can possibly imagine. We learn that we are his focus. We learn that he has great things planned for us, and that enables us to trust him. It's just like me and Cheyenne. My lovely fiance, that thing. When we first started dating, we began at a certain level of trust. And because we were at that level of trust, we only had a certain level of action or obedience. So we acted at the level of trust we were at. I would say things to her that fit the level of trust that we had. I would be open with my heart to the level of trust that we had. Now it's been a year and a half, roughly, and we're engaged, and our trust has grown like crazy. And so she gets a deeper part of my heart. I know her better, I trust her more, and she trusts me more, so we give more of ourselves to each other. It is nice. But patience. Patience. It's hard. But patience. Anyway, I guess I'm getting sidetracked. So, we grow our trust, which then grows our obedience. We grow our trust by getting to know each other. I learned that she will take care of my heart, that it's important to her, that it's valuable to her, that it matters to her. She's going to take care of it. And we grow our trust with God the same way, by learning that he cares about our heart, that it's important to him and valuable to him, and we can trust him with it. And the same with our lives, that our finances, which are important, they're important to him too. Our job is important. It's important to him too. As we learn that he cares about these things, it builds trust to us. And one of the best ways we learn that is church. Because you may not know anything about God, but when you come to church, both to youth and to main service, you get to hear from people who have been doing it longer than you. Doesn't mean we're better. It just means that we know stuff. We've been doing this a while, and we've learned things. And so we get to share those things with you, so you don't have to go figure it out on your own. So church is commitment number one. Come to church every time you have opportunity. This changed my life. Coming to this church is what set me free. When I got here, I had been going to another church that taught negatively. And the things that you're surrounded with, the things that you're taught to believe, will shape your life. So I was brought up in a not so great church that taught me negative things about God. And so I decided I didn't want God. And so then I surrounded myself with people on drugs. And you know what I did? A lot of drugs. And when I got here, I was a mess. I was a broken, dark, suicidal drug addict that hated life and everybody in it. I was having fun. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, drugs are fun for a while, but they will destroy you. And they were destroying me. When I was here, I was broken. I got here, lost, broken, and sitting in the corner over there. So I slept through the service in that seat and sat in the corner afterwards. That was my life for like a year. But I was surrounded with people that loved me and that loved Jesus. I was here broken and knew I was broken, and everybody knew that I was jacked up. But all I ever saw from the youth pastor then's eyes was love. I saw the love of Jesus through his eyes, and it kept me here. And look at me now. So church is really itchy here. There's a lot in between, but that's the point, is I came to a place that had real Jesus. real Jesus, and I learned to know him. And it set me free. Like completely free. Sober for 9 years.
Yay.
Thanks, guys, for the excitement. All right. The other thing we see in here, in that verse, is that when he went to church, it was normal that he would read the Bible. We don't see tons of verses in the Bible talking specifically about Jesus going and reading the scriptures, but we see him quite often quoting them, which proves that he knew them. So he read the Bible often. So commitment number 2. You're taking notes. Thank you, Lane. If you're actually taking notes, I trust you. Are you taking notes? Anyway, commitment number 2. Read the Bible. Why do we read the Bible? Because it tells us who God is. This right here contains everything we need to know about God and Jesus. It tells us exactly who he is. It tells us how much he cares for us. It tells us that when we betrayed him as humanity, he loved us enough to immediately make plans to bring us back to him. It says that he created humanity, believing that we would do the right thing, knowing we wouldn't, but he loved us enough to do it anyway, and with already a plan to die for us, because we're that valuable to him. And as we read this word, we get to know him, we get to understand him, we get to experience him. As I spend time with Cheyenne, I get to know her. I get to understand her. As she tells me about her life and her thoughts through her words, I begin to know her. I know her heart. I know her deepest parts. I know the way that she thinks. I know the way that she cares for me. She tells me through her words. And it helps me to know her and trust her. And so then I want to trust her with myself and obey. Looks a little different. She's not telling me what to do, but it's the same concept. Through the word, we get to know God. This is his word directed exactly at you. He put this together over thousands of years, over tons of different people, and wrote it through them to where it makes sense together as one book, even though it was written by tons of different people. And it is his word to explain his love to you. Because that's important to him. He wants you to know him. Because he knows if you know him, you'll trust him. Because you cannot help but trust God if you know him. Because he is that good. He is. Else? So we go to the Word to learn about God, and that builds our faith, it builds our trust, and it builds our obedience, knowing him and what he'll do. Next, let's go to Luke 15. I'm going to run through a couple of these real quick. Luke 15, 16. Thank you. I just recently changed conditioners. How's it going? Thanks.
Great.
Hey. A little moisturizer, you think?
Yeah, like stuff like Moroccan oil.
Yeah, I was doing that, but I didn't have money for it anymore. Planning for a wedding here. But it does work. Anyway. But Jesus often withdrew to the wilderness for prayer. Matthew 14:23. After sending them home, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. Night fell while he was there alone. Mark 6:46. After telling everyone goodbye, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. Mark 1:35. Before daybreak, the next morning, Jesus got up and went out to an isolated place to pray. Luke 6:12. You notice a theme here?
Yeah.
One day, soon afterward, Jesus went up on a mountain to pray, and he prayed to God all night. Luke 4:16. When he came to the village of Nazareth, his boy home. Oh, that's the wrong verse. That's okay. All right, so No, you did right. I did wrong. I gave you the wrong notes. No, that was good. We're good. We're good. So we see here a constant theme throughout Jesus' life. He prayed. And prayer is another one of those things that I feel like, is another one of those things that I feel like we talk about and we don't necessarily explain. And prayer is not just, Lord, please help me. You're driving me wild today. That's not all that prayer is. Prayer is simply about talking to God. It's simply about being around Him. It's separating ourselves, it's getting away from everything else and being with Him. One of the greatest ways that I've developed trust and relationship with Cheyenne, my example of today, is by just being with her. Right? She's not always telling me everything about her through her words. Sometimes it's just being together. We do life together. We hang out together. I get away from, all my other friends and from work and other things, and we just do things together. Like yesterday, we spent the whole day together. We went and looked at wedding bands. That was fun. We were on the date the other day. Yeah, we went and looked at wedding bands. Then we went home and watched a movie. Rented a movie and made steaks and we watched a movie together. And it was great. And it was an experience of growing closer together, because time together, time is your greatest resource, and as you spend that time with each other, you develop a relationship. So prayer is about spending time with God. Pretty good time. Prayer is about spending time with God. Yes, sometimes it is, Lord, please help me because you're driving me crazy. And sometimes it is, God, I really need this, or, I have no idea what to do, or, whatever. But it's about being with Him. It's about sharing your heart with Him. As you share your heart with Him and He cares for you, it develops trust. So when I talk to God, a lot of the time, or a fair amount of the time, I'm like, bro, what is going on? One of the things that I do that's part of my nightly routines is every night after I stretch, I spend a period of time pacing back and forth in my living room, just talking to God. And sometimes that conversation is, man, you're just so awesome. I love you. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for taking care of me. Thank you for leading and guiding me and giving me this life. Thank you for the people in my life and for the job that you've given me and for providing for me, for the amazing fiance that you've given me, for all these different things. Sometimes it's just that. Other times it's, God, I need help in this area. I don't know what I'm going to do, how I'm going to pay for this. I need time to be able to do this, and I don't know how to make time. I feel like I'm missing in this area, and I don't know how to fix it. Oftentimes, it's, I feel terribly undisciplined, and I want to be spending this time with you in the morning, but I'm incapable, it seems, of getting up in the morning and getting out of bed and not snoozing, so why am I such a wreck? Sometimes it's that. A lot of times it's that. Huh? I need a chihuahua. Yeah, that'll probably help. Oh, that's annoying. No, then I would just be mad. And I would literally, I used to do this myself. I would put my phone on the other side of the room, and I just get back in bed out of spite against myself from the night before. Like, I'm like, forget you previous, Micah. I'm going back to bed. For real. Anyway, so sometimes it's that. Other times it's, dude, I feel lost. I feel empty. Yes, I'm giving you this time. Yes, I'm doing these things, and I'm seeking after you the best way I know how, that I feel like I'm getting nowhere. What's wrong? Help, please. It can be anything as long as it's you. What He wants is you. Not some picture that you think you should be, not some made-up thing that you feel like is acceptable to Him. If God was looking for perfection or acceptable, then he would have never created humanity. He's looking for someone to love, for someone to care for someone to give his life to, for someone to take care of. So when you go to him, just be you. The real you.
That's right.
The broken you. I've cussed at God before. I've been on drugs talking to God before. He doesn't care. Yeah, he doesn't want you to stay there, but he wants you to be with him. And the only way that we get through, the only way that we get out, is by being around him. That's why we come to church, to be around him. That's why we read his word, to know him. And that's why we pray, to be with him. Y'all find y'all be okay?
I'm listening, she's just distracted.
Is to get to know him. That's why we spend time with him. To share our heart, to pour ourselves out to him, and give him the opportunity to love us. And yes, there is risk. You may not have experienced his love in an area before. There was a period of my and Shane's relationship where it was, I share my heart with her without having been proven that she would care for it. And I just had to take that risk, because relationship is risk. Relationship is risk.
You right.
Trust comes after the risk. I made a decision to risk my heart. And when she met it with care, it developed trust. And that's life with Jesus. We make a decision to say, here's my life. And when he meets us in that place, and he cares for us, and he heals us, and he brings life to us, we learn to trust him. And we decide to do life his way. And it builds greater trust. And we spend our entire lives going through this cycle, getting deeper and deeper and deeper, knowing him in a greater and greater way, falling deeper in love with him, and understanding his love in a greater and deeper way for you. Because it's endless. You can spend the rest of your life learning how much he loves you and never reach the end of it. And my hope is that you will. Because that's the goal. That's why I'm here. That's why I do this. Because I love you enough. Because I love you enough to come here and say, this is how we learn him. This is how we get to know him. And we do that because I've known his love. I've known him meeting me in the broken place. I've known him meeting me when I was hopeless. I've known him meeting me when I didn't want to live. And I want to share that with you. Because no matter where you are, and I know you're in tons of different places because life is rough, especially for a teenager. Life is wild. And y'all got so many stresses, so many difficulties. You got classes, people getting on you because you're not doing good enough here, and you'll never be enough there, and you're failing here, and you may or may not have parents that are there for you. You may or may not have people that care for you. Life is hard. And that's why I come here. Because I want you to know that there is someone who cares. That everyone else may have abandoned you, and no one else may care. God does, believe me. No one else will love you perfectly, but God will. Everyone back, guys, close your eyes. You know, I've been up here talking about God's love and Jesus caring about you and how much he wants to take care of you, and about making commitments and seeking after him and going to church and reading the Bible and praying and all of that. But all those commitments are about deepening a relationship with him. They're about growing a relationship with him. But you may be here and have not started that relationship. You may have never taken that initial risk and said, all right, Jesus, you gave your life for me. You said that you're the only way to receive life. So I'll take you on that. I don't know you yet, but Micah seems to like you a lot. And so I'm going to take that risk. And I'm going to choose you. I'm going to give you my life. You may have never began that relationship, And if you're here today and you've never done that before, this is your opportunity. Or if you have done that before and you're like, you know, one time I was like, yeah, I want Jesus, and then I went on, did my own thing, did my own way, and, you know, I feel like I've just kind of walked away from him, but I want to come back. I want to start fresh in that relationship. If either of those are you want to begin a relationship with him, or you want to come back to him, I just want you to raise your hand. Because today is your day to embrace that love. And though, yes, life will be hard, I promise it will be worth it. Because life is hard no matter what you do. But with Jesus, you have someone that loves you all the time, that cares for you constantly, and does everything they can to help you. So if you raise your hand, or you want to raise your hand and you're scared, I just want you to come up here. You're not going to have to give a speech. You're not going to have to do anything weird. I just want to pray with you. Because this is your opportunity to start that journey. To begin life with him. All right. I'm going to assume all of y'all are good. And if one of you was like, bro, I wanted to do that, but you know, you wanted me to go up front, not about that life, then I want you, after the service, to get with Miss Linda. Miss Linda, wave your hand, please. That's Miss Linda. So if you want to do that, and you want to make that commitment, and you were just too afraid to come up here, that's okay. We all start somewhere. And so just find her after the service, and she'll work with you.